everyone. We're glad to get to spend some time with you today. We're going to talk money and politics, my two favorite subjects. And here at Trinity Strategic Wealth, where we live to help clients pursue their lifetime goals and values, we know the importance of an election season. And there's lots of disturbing information out there. So, welcome to today's conversation. I'm Mike Mazzei, the CEO of Trinity Strategic Wealth. And even though you can't maybe come to an event in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where our headquarters are, we hope this gets you some good information about this election season. The Mazzei family always tries to encourage people with optimism that there is growth ahead. This is a fun season for us because we just got our 5 kids through college, and this is the first September and October cycle I'm not paying an enormous tuition bill. Now, like a good financial planner, I had lots of 529 accounts, so we were able to survive the gauntlet. But not only are we not paying for college tuition this year, but all 5 of the Mazzei kids have jobs, and they're consumers out spending, helping the Oklahoma economy and the American economy. So I know you're dealing with lots of crazy information out there. It's kind of disturbing to watch the news. When clients come in here for progress sessions every week, I hear all the time, "Oh, Mike, I just can't watch the news. It's too frustrating. It's too disturbing." But I like to remind people that we're here to handle all that for you in one sense, in terms of keeping up with everything. And the American system has a way of generating great growth and prosperity. On this particular slide, there are several bars of green that show positive market returns in almost any political scenario. Right now, leading up to the election, we have a divided power structure in Washington, D.C., where the Democrats, of course, have the White House, and Republicans have the U.S. House of Representatives, and the U.S. Senate belongs to the Democrats. Who knows what that's going to look like after the election? We'll cover a little bit of that here in a second. But what this chart tells us is that the American economy, and as a result, the stock market, kind of grows in any political scenario, because the American people are the greatest force for innovation, ingenuity, and hard work in the world and in the history of the world. So they will find a way. Ironically, divided government, as this chart tells us, tends to have the best stock market returns over time. So I wouldn't be all that surprised if we have divided government going forward. Now, of course, getting all the attention is the presidential election, and this particular map of the electoral state of affairs shows kind of in red what's likely to go towards Trump, and in blue what's likely to go towards Harris, and then there's some gray, which are the toss-ups. Toss-ups will generally define the election. You might have heard this by now, but the states you want to pay attention to are Pennsylvania and North Carolina and Georgia and Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. If Harris can win 4 or 5 of those, she's in the White House. If Trump can win, say, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, he's in the White House. So it's kind of a coin flip at this point, and both campaigns have some serious work ahead of them. We're mindful that you, our clients, have your own opinion about who to vote for. What we're going to talk about is the economy, and their 2 separate economic plans. and what we think is better for the economy, which is better for the stock market, which is better for your investments. Now, this slide covers a few highlights of the economy. The most significant items are that, like a great Elon Musk SpaceX rocket, the American economy just tends to shoot higher and higher. Right now we've got data that says economic growth is probably going to stay in the 2 to 3% range. Inflation is coming down. The latest reading we got this week was 2.5% inflation. And that's enough for the Federal Reserve to start their cycle of lower interest rates. So that's happening this month, and we expect there'll be 2 or 3, maybe even 4 more rate cuts ahead. And that generally is a boon for consumers and businesses. Now, economic policy can either gum up the rocket fuel for the economy, or it can turbo boost it. This particular slide shows that the Harris plan, to the degree that she's slowly been letting out some details, is in favor of increasing the tax on corporate profits by 33%, increasing the taxes on capital gains, and those are not exactly turbo boosters for the engine of economic growth. They actually kind of dampen potential upside. We hope that doesn't happen. We'll get to how that may or may not happen here in a second. But the Trump economic policy plan tends to focus on, as you can see from this next slide, lower taxes, less regulation, drill baby drill, they like to say, which will ultimately lower energy costs. So his desire to keep that corporate tax rate at 21% or maybe even lower it would be a follow-up from when the tax plan of 2017 was initiated and the corporate rate came down from 35% to 21%. We'd like it to stay that way, not go up from the economic lens of public policy. Now, this next slide shows what we call the battle for the U.S. Senate. And whether Harris is in the White House or Trump is in the White House, any legislative changes are going to have to go through the Congress, and in particular the juggernaut of the U.S. Senate. Right now the numbers here are interesting in that we may be looking at another scenario of a divided Congress. The Democrats, I have learned from my contacts in Washington, D.C., have 22 races they have to defend, and the Republicans only have 8 races they have to defend. This particular map shows that the Republicans are likely sitting on 50 seats because West Virginia has already become kind of a likely win for Republicans. So there are these toss-up races in Montana and Ohio and Nevada and Arizona that are going to determine who controls the levers of power in the United States Senate. As most of you know, I'm a fiscal conservative. During my time in the Oklahoma State Senate as the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, I was obviously part of the Republican Party and grateful to have an opportunity to work on big changes for the people of Oklahoma. We got rid of the estate tax, if some of you will remember that. So I was invited to be a guest at the Republican National Convention, and it was a very interesting experience. I heard from some of these people that are running in these races across the country. The battle in Montana looks particularly interesting. There's current incumbent John Tester is running for re-election, and he's got the power of incumbency. He's obviously well known and in a lot of ways well liked in Montana. He could run for re-election. The gentleman running against him, I heard speak at the Republican National Convention. Very impressive. His name is Tim Sheehy. He was a special forces operator in Iraq and Afghanistan. After he got out of the military, he started what became a very successful business, and he's giving Tester a run for his money. Montana's obviously a Trump state, so this is where my friends, Senator James Langford and our local congressman, Representative Kevin Hern, tend to think this seat could flip Republican, and all of a sudden you have 51 Republicans and 49 Democrats. They all say the control of the U.S. House of Representatives is a coin flip. Hard to know where that is headed. It's going to be really tight either way. So all of those dynamics wouldn't surprise me if we end up with divided government, just a little bit different than we have right now. Divided government wouldn't be bad because they can't change tax policy. And tax policy right now is pretty favorable for corporate profits and consumer spending, and that would probably be a boon to the current uptrend in the stock market, maybe for another 2 to 4 years. This particular picture of the S&P 500 shows the uptrend that started back in 2022, October of 2022 actually, and what we want you to be mindful of is after reaching some new highs last month and this month, it would be very normal for price action to go sideways, maybe even head down a little bit to some of these horizontal green dotted lines that we call support levels. It's not uncommon in a presidential election year to have some downward action into the election and then a rally after the election. Trump got a rally after his election in 2016 and Biden got a rally after his election in 2020. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some up and down action and finish maybe somewhere near the highs at the end of the year. That would be a good sign that this current 2-year uptrend has a ways to go. Historically, when interest rates start going down, bond values start going up, and it looks like the Federal Reserve is going to be lowering interest rates, so that'll help the bond portfolios going forward. Obviously, there's a lot of great evidence that the American economy has survived and withstood a lot of pressures. There are some concerns that people are sort of fretting about. We get it if you don't want to watch the news, but we're watching these models in your money on a daily basis, and we love it when we get to see you for progress sessions or you call in with questions. Remember that with the ups and downs of what America is dealing with, I always like to tell people America's best days are ahead, and I often like to quote one of my heroes, Winston Churchill, who, remember, has famously said more than once, you can always count on America to do the right thing once it's tried everything else. So with that, we hope this was some good information for you. Feel free to share it with family members and friends, and from all the team and all the financial advisors at Trinity Strategic Wealth, have a blessed day.